Secret of the Andes by Anne Nolan Clark. Chapter 12. The Valley Below. At last, Kusi was going down the llama trail. He was going searching for a family. Black Misty, proud and beautiful, was at his elbow. Behind him, marching in single file, were 7 yellow-brown llamas, as proud and as beautiful as Misty. They marched in perfect order. Each pointed little hoof was placed with delicate exactness on the slippery rocks of the steep, narrow trail. The red tassels in their ears kept time to the tinkle-tinkle of the lead llama's bell. Their rounded loads of wool piled high on their backs bobbed in rhythm to their marching feet. Kusi's bright blue poncho swung backward as he stepped along at the head of the llama line. His coca bag tied at one side of his sash, and the bag of parched corn at the other swished gaily against his knees. Around his neck, on a slender cord, was his medicine bag. In it, neat, tidy bundles were a pinch of salt, a pinch of dried herbs, and an ancient knife. There was also powdered tobacco in the bag, powdered tobacco for snake bite, in case Kusi or his llamas met an unfriendly snake on the mountain trail. The medicine bag swung from side to side. The woolen tassel on the boy's long, pointed cap nodded. In fact, everything moved with the moving procession. Everything moved except the golden sandals. Wrapped in a square of vicuña cloth, they lay close and safe against the young boy's heart. It was a beautiful morning, a morning bright with promise and shining with hope. Kusi and his llamas walked happily down the llama trail. No cloud marred the blue sky. No wind cried in the canyons. The new day waited breathless and beautiful for Kusi to walk through it, from its blue dawning until its purple dusk. The boy and the llamas walked down the mountain trail. Above them in Hidden Valley, Chudo was left to mourn their going. Below them lay the lower valley, lost to view now because of the bulging mountain, but it lay there at the foot of the trail. By midday, when the great sun paused to let the shadows rest, Kusi would have reached the clearing. He would be standing before the shelter door of the family he felt he knew so well. But even in his eagerness to reach his journey's desire, the boy did not forget that first and last and always he had llamas to shepherd. He let them wander frequently in the little side canyons where the ichu grass grew to feed them. "You will not graze at night, my llamas," he told them with affection, "so now I give you time to eat the rich grass you need to give you strength." After the llamas had eaten, they folded their legs beneath them to rest. Their rounded loads looked like grass huts squatting low on the ichu grass. Kusi laughed aloud to see them. At his laughter, the llamas began to hum in llama pleasure to let the whole world know that all was well. Kusi hummed with them. Then he leaped to his feet, giving the llama call, "Come, llamas! Come, llamas!" As always, the animals obeyed him at once and began their stately march again. Kusi munched parched corn as he took his place at the head of the procession. He said to Misty in a teasing tone, "I am not as proud as you. I do not mind if I must eat as I walk along." They went down the llama trail and came closer and closer to the lower valley. Kusi began recognizing landmarks he had spotted from his lookout rock in the valley above. He saw the burned tree that lightning had struck, standing black and bold, a lone sentinel. He crossed the trickling stream that bubbled along to join the mighty river. Everything was hot and still. The shadows had folded themselves beneath the trees and the shrubbery. The great sun was in mid-sky, looking down on the boy and on the llamas. Kusi stopped. He was almost there. Sweat dampened his forehead at the edge of his knitted cap and ran in little rivers down his brown cheeks. The palms of his hands were wet. He wiped them on his white trouser legs. He was here at last, in the valley below. He was where his dreams had led him. Only a few more steps now, and he would stand at the far end of the clearing. Then he and his llamas would walk across it. He knew every step of the way from having watched it so often. They would walk across the clearing and stand before the shelter door. Someone would answer his shout of greeting. The father? Or the children, perhaps? Or the mother? All of them? Yes, that would be the way it would happen. They would all come crowding to the door, laughing and talking and welcoming him. Would he say, "I want to be a part of your family"? Or would they know it? Kusi wondered. Would it be a difficult thing to say? Would he be brave enough and bold enough? Kusi looked up the mountain, trying to find the valley that lay hiding just beneath the line of eternal snow. Chuto was there. Chuto, the good one, the kind one, the old one, who loved him and had taught him all he knew. What was Chuto doing now? Kusi wondered. Was he sitting by the fire, thinking? Was he sitting by the corral wall, deep in prayer? Was he crouched on the overhanging rock, watching the boy he had told goodbye? That was what he was doing. Suddenly, Kusi knew it. He could see Chuto on the rock as plainly as he had seen him every day of his life. He could feel the old man's thoughts, giving him courage. He could feel the old man's love, giving him strength to do that which his heart had bidden. Kusi turned around. He swung his poncho folds over his shoulder. He felt the sandal bundle close to his panting heart. He walked across the clearing, and the black llama and the 7 yellow-brown llamas followed him in stately single file. Kusi walked across the clearing, and the llamas followed. They walked across the clearing to where the shelter should have been. There was no shelter. The ground was bare and trampled by the feet of men, of children, and of llamas, but there was not a sign of the shelter that had stood there. Ashes of the cooking fire, yes, but ashes dead and cold. Kusi was stunned. Perhaps the shelter had burned? But no, there was no charred wood. There was no burned thatch. There was nothing but footmarks on the trampled ground. Kusi never knew how long he stood there. Long enough to grow older. Long enough to see dreams die. The llamas waited expectantly, their sad, dark eyes on the boy they knew as master. Misty nudged him. The great sun moved through the heavens on his way to put the day to bed. The shadows stole out from their resting place and, strengthened by their brief siesta, grew longer with the lengthening day. An old man on the mountaintop let his tears drop to heal the heartache of a lonely boy. Kusi knew it. He had been so close to Chuto, so near him, so much a part of his world, that he knew when the old one cried. He could sense the old one's tears. He knew that they were dropping to cool the burning of his heart, to soothe his aching disappointment, to wash all his bitterness away. He did not ask why were they gone? Why could they not have been there to take him in? Why had Chuto let him come? knowing that all was gone. Kusi was learning to accept the way that had been laid out before him. He was learning not to wonder, not to question, not to rebel, but to go forth step by step and step by step as the trail became deeper and the signs along the way more clearly marked. He had one thought to cling to. Both Chuto and the Amata had told him, "Follow your heart." Even the minstrel had said it, not in the same words perhaps, but meaning the same. Follow your heart. Kusi knew where that would lead him. It would lead him to the haven of family love and family security. Misty nudged the boy again. Kusi looked at him through a mist of unshed tears. He looked at his llama and tried to smile. "All right, Misty," he told the proud black llama. "All right. We will go to Cuzco. I think that you and Chuto knew that was what would happen." The young boy led his llamas back across the clearing to the trail again. When he had reached its shadowed coolness, he sat a while to rest his head upon his knees. The llamas waited, not grazing, not resting, not humming. This was not the time. This was not the place. This was only waiting for their young master to take heart again. By and by, Kusi sighed. He raised his head. He rose and gave the llama call. "Come, llamas! Come, llamas!" The llamas obeyed him. Arrogantly, they walked behind him. Soon, the mountain world of Hidden Valley and the valley below it was left behind. No one paused. No one hesitated. No one stopped. No one looked back. The boy and his llamas marched on. Lower Valley was behind them now.